These economic numbers are staggering. If you are struggling to make it in this economy, you're not alone, because there are millions of other Americans in the same exact boat. Needless to say, the cost of living has become extremely oppressive, and that has put a tremendous amount of financial stress on U.S. families. Unfortunately, the Federal Reserve has chosen to fight inflation by aggressively hiking interest rates, and that is starting to cause massive problems. The money supply is actually shrinking, the banking system has been thrown into a state of chaos, and we're witnessing a tsunami of layoffs that's unlike anything that we have seen since the Great Recession. For most Americans, employment is the only thing standing between them and poverty. In fact, one recent survey discovered that 44% of Americans actually work more than one job. 44% of Americans work a second job, a 13% increase relative to the Trump administration, a Lending Club report revealed on Tuesday. The recent increase under President Joe Biden is highlighted by a survey from Flex Jobs, which found 69% of employed professionals either have a second job or want one or need one. This is our economy now. Tens of millions of Americans have to work multiple jobs just to survive. And at this point, more than 60% of the population is living paycheck to paycheck. The Lending Club report also revealed 62% of Americans, including 48% of high-income consumers, were living paycheck to paycheck in February, up 2 percentage points from the month prior. But if you're able to find a job to scrape by from month to month, you should be quite happy, because according to author Matthew Desmond, approximately 18 million Americans have been living in a state of deep poverty. In his book, Desmond, analyzing data from the U.S. Census Bureau and other sources, reports that 1 in 18 people in the U.S. live in what is considered deep poverty, or what he calls a subterranean level of scarcity. In 2020, this category included people who make less than $6,380 a year, or families of 4 living on less than $13,100. In 2020, almost 18 million people in America lived in these conditions, including some 5 million children. As I sit here, I'm having a difficult time comprehending these numbers, Michael Snyder says. They are just so bad. Unfortunately, economic conditions are rapidly getting worse. On Thursday, we learned that Roku will be conducting a second round of layoffs. Streaming device company Roku is planning to lay off another 200 workers, just months after it cut the same number of positions in 2022. In a U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission filing this week, Roku Inc. wrote that it has approved a restructuring plan to lower the company's year-over-year operating expense growth and prioritize projects that the company believes it will have a higher return on investment, which is expected to impact approximately 200 employees, approximately 6% of the company's workforce. The result in the exit and sublease or cease use of certain office facilities that the company does not currently occupy. The EA has just announced that it will lay off about 6% of its workforce. Video game publisher Electronic Arts said on Wednesday it will lay off about 6% of its workforce and reduce office space in an attempt to cut costs. EA had about 12,900 staff as of March end last year. The Madden NFL publisher also said it will move away from projects that do not contribute to its strategy. I was quite alarmed when I heard that. I thought EA was doing well. Burger King will also be giving the axe to a large number of workers as it closes 26 locations. Burger King has announced that it will lay off 424 members of staff as it gears up to close 26 restaurants through April. Store closures began on March 17 and will continue through next month as the chain shuts doors due to unforeseen business circumstances. And if Bed Bath & Beyond is unable to raise hundreds of millions of dollars, the entire company may soon go belly up. Bed Bath & Beyond will sell up to $300 million of its stock to repay creditors and fund its business as it struggles to avoid bankruptcy. If it's not able to raise sufficient money from the offering, The home furnishings giant said Thursday it expects likely likely file for bankruptcy. There are going to be so many stories like this in the months ahead. After years of super low interest rates and easy money, our leaders have thrown things into reverse. At this point, our money supply is actually falling at its fastest rate since the 1930s. U.S. money supply is falling at its fastest rate since the 1930s, a red flag for the economy and financial markets. Money supply has now been shrinking year on year since December, an unprecedented development in modern times that should make investors sit up and take notice. Growth, asset prices, and inflation could all weaken. According to Reuters, it's largely a consequence of the reversal of the liquidity generated by massive post-pandemic fiscal and monetary stimulus, the Federal Reserve shrinking its balance sheet via quantitative tightening, falling bank deposits, and weak demand for and provision of credit. Needless to say, the 1930s were not a good time for our economy, and as our historic banking crisis rolls on, small and mid-sized banks all over the nation are going to get really tight with their money. And that means that they will be issuing fewer mortgages, fewer commercial real estate loans, fewer auto loans, and fewer credit cards. In other words, economic activity is really going to slow down. The good news is that we can see what is happening in advance, and so those that are wise will be able to make preparations to weather the coming storm. Unfortunately, most of the population still trusts our leaders when they say that everything is going to work out just fine somehow. So many people have blind faith in the system, even though the system is now starting to crumble all around us. This is by Michael Snyder. He says about the author, "My name is Michael, and my brand new book entitled End Times is now available on Amazon. In addition to my new book, I have written 6 other books that are available on Amazon, including 7-Year Apocalypse, Lost Prophecies of the Future of America, The Beginning of the End, and Living a Life That Really Matters. When you purchase any of these books, you help to support the work that I'm doing, and one way that you can really help is by sending copies as gifts to family and friends. Time is short, and I need help getting these warnings into the hands of as many people as possible. I have also started a brand new Substack newsletter, and I encourage you to subscribe so that you won't miss any of the latest updates. I've published thousands of articles on the Economic Collapse blog, End of the American Dream, and the Most Important News, and the articles that I publish on those sites are republished on dozens of other prominent websites all over the globe. I always freely and happily allow others to republish my articles on their own websites, but I also ask that they include this about the author section with each article. The material contained in the article is for general information purposes only, and readers should consult licensed professionals before making any legal, business, financial, and health decisions. I encourage you to follow me on social media, Facebook and Twitter, and any way that you can share these articles with others is definitely great help. These are such troubled times and people need to hope. John 3:16 tells us about the hope that God has given us through Jesus Christ. For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever believeth in him should not perish but have everlasting life. If you have not already done so, I strongly urge you to invite Jesus Christ to be your Lord and Savior today. And this is by Michael Snyder on the Economic Collapse blog. Please leave your comments, and thank you for your support. Kindly support my Patreon account. The daily posts are 5 videos daily, and they are totally different from what I have on my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for your support and that you find all my content so interesting. You'll find the Patreon account details in the description box